Good morning and welcome to YWCA Delaware's annual celebration breakfast. My name is India Sage Williams, and I'll be your master of ceremonies for the morning. Is that all right? All right. We are so grateful to have you with us as we honor our decades of change and look forward to a future of hope. 13 decades of serving women and families. 13 decades of influential change makers who have committed their lives to eliminating racism and empowering women. And as we gather here today, during a time when many families in our state are feeling uneasy and uncertain, when food assistance, healthcare, and housing instability are under threat, this room, this mission is where hope meets action. Today, we are celebrating our history, our voices, our strength, and our ability to transform and shape the future. And what better way to begin than by introducing you to some of our young leaders who are our future. Let's give them a warm welcome with our fans and our hands.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Thea Lopez. I am a community organizer, environmental educator, and founder of Girls Like Us Empowerment Group. My journey with the Y began my sophomore year at Mount Pleasant High School, where I was a part of the YW Leadership Program. That program gave me the tools and confidence I need to uplift and advocate for myself while I was stepping into my leadership role. At then, I was just class president. Fast forward present day, where I recently ran for Wilmington City Council, and I just missed winning by just 7 votes. Yes. So those lessons, they continue to stay with me as I advocate for youth development, policies that make our community stronger and brighter. And it's really those that help lead me into the direction that I'm going in. So if I had to think of one word that gives me hope, it would truly be history. Because if you lose your history, you lose your power. And it's history that gives us context, it gives us strength, and it reminds us of how far we came, but where we still must go. It reminds us that we must work together to find solutions, to be creative. And that's what today is all about, right? About decades of change, honoring where we've been, recognizing the progress that we've made, while also celebrating, so where those fans at? And recommitting ourselves daily to the work that's still ahead. So thank you guys for being here.
Good morning. My name is Molly Tannehill, and I am proud to be YWCA Delaware's Legal and Medical Services Coordinator with the Sexual Assault Response Center. I first became connected to YWCA Delaware as a 2-semester intern with SARC, where I learned firsthand how transformative, confidential, and no-cost services can be for survivors and their families as they heal. From attending medical accompaniments to assisting with protection from abuse orders, I discovered that advocacy is both powerful and personal. What I've learned is that every act of support, both big and small, can change the direction of someone's life. I'm very proud to be part of an organization that's been showing up for survivors for decades, and even more proud to help carry that work into the future. One word that gives me hope is justice. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jose Hudson, and I'm proud to serve as a Youth Development Program Facilitator at YWCA Delaware. My journey with YWCA started in high school as a YW leader, where I first got to imagine what a truly just and inclusive world could look like. That experience sparked a belief in me. Even small actions can make a real difference. One moment that stands out was when a student who had always been quiet finally spoke up during an activity I led. Seeing the pride and confidence on the face reminded me why this work really matters. It's about giving young people the space to grow, take risks, and realize their potential. Now, as a sophomore at University of Delaware studying psychology, I get to bring that belief into every session. I lead activity that builds confidence, create safe spaces, and encourage students to see how capable they really are. If I had to pick one word that gives me hope, it would be unity. When we come together, support each other, and share our strengths, we can create a world where everyone has a chance to thrive.
One more time for our YW leaders. I knew that today it was going to feel magical being here in this presence of women and men who are making history. I'd like to introduce you to someone who's been a strong advocate for the YWCA Delaware's mission and strategic direction since 2018. A woman who's made history in 2002 when she became Delaware's first female chief engineer for the Delaware Department of Transportation. Please help me and give a warm welcome to YWCA Delaware's new board president, Carol Ann Wicks.
Thank you all so much for being here this morning. It is truly an honor to be in this room with so many incredible YWCA supporters and with our Newcastle County Executive, Marcus Henry. I think Monique Johns, our Newcastle County Council President, is also here. Thank you. And if not now, but shortly, Honorable Margaret Rose Henry will also be joining us. Yeah, she does get an extra shout out. So everyone in this room plays an important role in building and sustaining the work of the YWCA Delaware. But I would like to take a moment before we start to recognize a few key individuals without whom this wouldn't be possible. So first, I would like to thank our former board president, Karen Smith, whose strong and caring leadership have been a model for all of us. Karen embodies the qualities of the women who for 130 years have built this organization into what it is today. Thank you, Karen. Now, would our fellow board members please wave your fans? And how about the staff in the room? Our corporate sponsors who collectively are impacting our change. And finally, the volunteers who work to put together this beautiful celebration. Thank you, everyone who has helped to pull us together today. As we were getting ready to celebrate today, I thought about how far we've come over the past 130 years, our many decades of change. YWCA Delaware began in 1895. By 1898, we were providing safe, affordable lodging with a lunchroom for young working women in Wilmington. Times were tough. In 1906, permanent lodgers were paying $2.50 a week for a room and board, while only earning $3 a week in a factory. That's when the YW began speaking up for better working conditions and fair wages. In an era when segregation was law, YWCA was one of the only organizations creating spaces where women of color could find support. In the 1960s, during the height of the civil rights movement, YWCA Delaware opened its programs and housing to all women, a stand that was neither simple nor universally popular at the time, but one that was definitely true to our mission. Fast forward, until 1974, women couldn't open their own credit cards. And right here in Delaware, it was our honorary co-chair, Beverly Baxter, who championed women's rights and economic empowerment long before those terms were commonplace. And honorary co-chair Paulette Sullivan Moore, who was born to a courageous and determined 15-year-old mother and went on to become the first African-American woman admitted to the Delaware bar. She helped shape the violence Against Women Act, a landmark in the fight for safety and justice. Thank you, Beverly and Paulette, for all that you do and the leadership that you have provided us. This morning, we gather as a community that has carried this mission through decades of struggle and change together. We look forward to a future of hope. From standing with the suffrage and civil rights movements to advancing equal pay and the Violence Against Women Act, to confronting today's housing shortage and nonprofit funding crisis, we have never wavered in our mission, eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. Clearly, barriers continue to persist, and we recognize that gender equity means nothing without racial equity. Our mission is not complete until housing, health, and wage gaps are also eliminated. But just like we've responded to the changes over the decades, we will continue to adjust and provide services to keep families strong. If there's one thing I've learned during my tenure with the YWCA Delaware is that we are ready to meet the moment. As more Delawareans lose access to basic needs, we need to be ready to respond with shelter, food, counseling, and advocacy. Our staff continues to deliver life-changing services to more than 8,000 people every year, alongside our dedicated volunteers. Our board of directors continues to assess priorities, provide leadership and direction through their time and through their financial contributions. And I am very proud today to announce that 100% of the board has made a financial commitment to support the work that you will hear about today. Thank you, my board members. This morning, we celebrate decades of change, a future of hope, a reminder of the power of community to turn challenges into lasting progress. Thank you again so much for being here today and being a part of the YWCA Delaware.
Please join me in welcoming to the stage YWCA Delaware CEO, Melissa Donovan.
So as I look around the room, in some ways, this year's breakfast feels familiar. The orange napkins, the coffee cups, the pastries on the table. But we all know that things are not the same this year. We gather today in the midst of a government shutdown. For many, it's an inconvenience. But for the 117,000 Delawareans, or 11% of our neighbors who rely on SNAP, it's frightening. For pregnant women, parents, and young children relying on WIC and Medicaid services, the uncertainty is even heavier. Hardship isn't new for the families that we serve at YWCA Delaware, but for some, the past 9 months have brought new barriers, fewer resources, or louder attempts to silence their voices. Those who already carry the heaviest weight of inequities are the ones who have borne the sharpest edges of this year's challenges. And while today is a celebration, we must also remember all of the people who are impacted and continue to suffer from violence, whether in their own homes or due to conflicts around the world. These realities remind us that our mission of eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all are not optional. It's not optional. It's essential. It's what allows communities to thrive. It's what makes open dialogue possible, what sustains respect for one another, and what guides us to resolve conflict, and ultimately, why we gather here in this room today. We are living in a defining moment. And yet we can still hold hope. Hope that enough of us will give our all to ensure every Delawarean has a safe place to call home, a loving relationship to nurture, and a decent job to go to. If we must be in this moment, I'm proud to be here in this moment with all of you. This past year has tested us in ways that we didn't expect. Federal funding we were relying on was retroactively frozen, impacting our community health workers. We lost funding for transitional housing, and victim services funding continues to decline. It's often felt like the ground was shifting beneath our feet. We really had to think about the single mother in our housing program who had just begun to rebuild her life and ask, can we keep the lights on for her and all of the others who are depending on us? Our team has had to ask ourselves, can we keep going? Can we continue making the lasting positive impact for the people in Delaware who need us the most? But in those moments, we remember YWCA Delaware has faced challenges before, Every decade of our history tells a similar story. When times get hard, we don't give up. For all the women who have come before us, who have served on YWCA Delaware staff, on the board, who have volunteered, many of the people in this room today, we continue to press on and work even harder to make a difference. These challenges have not weakened us. They have pushed us to be more creative, more determined, more united, and this is worth celebrating. So here's what gives us hope. Every time systems falter, community rises. Every time we find the courage to speak up, we move closer to the world we all want to live in. Just as we've done throughout our history, we rise to meet the moment and we focus on the goals ahead. We're doing the work to secure a better future, advocating for the people we serve, building partnerships, and increasing our impact in the most efficient ways possible. So even in the face of these challenges, YWCA Delaware has stepped up in ways that I am incredibly proud of. This year, we doubled the number of youth served in our program, empowering twice as many young people to grow their confidence and their leadership skills. We partnered with St. Francis Hospital to become part of their Healthy Village project. Newcastle County and the Hope Center chose us to provide case management for 120 clients over the next 2 years because they know we give people the best chance to rebuild their lives. Our community garden at our Home Life Management Center is on track to be certified as an urban farm. Combined with our People's Food Pantry, this means more fresh, healthy food for children and families. And we're about to pilot a new Alice project to support low-income working families on the path to home ownership. But we are not stopping there. We recently received a grant to provide transitional housing for survivors in Sussex County. This is a great opportunity. We're excited about that. This is a great opportunity for us to provide more services in the southern part of the state, and especially much needed support for housing for survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, and human trafficking. We will continue to advocate for our mission and our programs and services because lawmakers need to hear the truth, the heartbreaking stories of what it means when housing, safety, security, and opportunity are threatened. From safety to housing, from youth to advocacy, our impact stretches across Delaware, and it's growing every single day. When I look back at YWCA Delaware's history, I see a truth that has never changed. In our moments of greatest pressure, we rise to our highest potential. Today, as we celebrate decades of change and a future of hope, we know this, that when that foundation is shaken, we don't falter. We stand together and we grow stronger. And this morning, we are building the hopeful future that Delawareans deserve. Now we're going to move on to a fun part of the program where we're going to give out some awards to some wonderful volunteers and partners of the agency. Like every strong team, hope needs champions. This morning, we want to recognize 3 special awardees who embody the spirit of leadership, compassion, and courage. Their work reminds us that progress is never made alone and that hope becomes real through service to others. It's my honor to introduce this year's YWCA Delaware Trailblazer Award to Kayla Rivera Rodriguez, who has been a steadfast sexual assault response advocate since 2016. She has dedicated over 14,000 volunteer hours, that's 9 years of evening shifts, to support survivors of sexual and domestic violence on our 24/7 helpline. Whether offering quiet reassurance in the night, connecting survivors to emergency services, or bridging language and cultural barriers for Spanish-speaking callers, she responds with patience and deep compassion. For many Spanish-speaking callers, Kayla was the first person who understood not just the words describing what happened to them, but the culture, the fear, and the isolation. Kayla's impact could never be measured in hours alone. It lives in the lives she has touched, in the hope she has restored, and the strength she helps survivors reclaim. Thank you, Kayla, for being a bold leader and advocate. Our next awardee, the recipient of the YWCA Delaware Dorothy Height Justice Award, recognizes Danielle Dove, Director of Counseling, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Archmere Academy. Under her guidance, the YW Leaders Program, some of whom you heard here today, the program has flourished at Archmere and expanded to Mount Pleasant High School, empowering young leaders to facilitate, collaborate, and create lasting impact. Students consistently credit Danielle for providing a safe space, support, and the encouragement to shine authentically. Thank you, Danielle, for championing this critical work. YWCA Delaware Service Award is presented to Mr. Enoch Johnson Sr., who for the past 3 years has been a trusted and valued partner through his moving company, B&E Complete Property Preservation. His unwavering professionalism, reliability, and dedication have consistently distinguished him, particularly as he supports participants during one of the most significant transitions of their lives, moving into a new home. With every move, he brings a source of comfort and care for families starting over, treating each client's belongings as if they were his own. In fact, Mr. Enoch recently coordinated a move with a domestic violence survivor who had secured permanent housing and had belongings in multiple locations. His meticulous handling to reunite her with belongings from New York, Delaware, and the Home Life Management Center ensured that nothing was damaged and brought peace of mind during an otherwise stressful time. Thank you, Mr. Enoch, for your service to YWCA Delaware and our community.
Now it is my pleasure to invite you to hear from other change makers in the room, people who have experienced the YW services firsthand. Our next guest is a woman whose voice has changed laws and whose passion has strengthened communities. Paulette Sullivan Moore has spent her career ensuring that survivors of violence are seen, heard, and protected. And it is only fitting that she be the one to introduce a speaker whose story brings this mission to life. Please give a warm welcome to Paulette Sullivan Moore.
Good morning, everybody. I feel so honored to be in this illustrious crowd this morning. To co-host with the venerable Beverly Baxter is amazing. Beverly, I don't know if you guys, some of you younger ones don't know it, but Beverly was and has been a major mover and shaker in the state of Delaware. People would say, oh, have you talked to Beverly? The other person I just want to recognize is the Honorable Rose Henry. Thank you so much, Senator. I want to thank the entire Y. I want to thank everybody for getting up in the rain and getting out here this morning. My experience with the Y has been both personal and professional. Personally, there was this young college student in the summer between her freshman year and her sophomore year in college who was at a family gathering in her mother's backyard, and she walked over to the beer chest and was immediately chastised by her mother for daring to not go to the soda chest, but go to the beer chest. So that young woman got pissed. She went upstairs to her room, packed her clothes, called a cab, and went to the Y on King Street, where she lived the rest of the summer. And it was amazing. While at the Y, I met this other young woman who was launching a new business, Martha Morgan. And Martha had us up many nights downstairs in the gathering room. This is the old Y that was at the bottom of the family courthouse, where family court is now. And she had us up at night sewing, stitching, because she was getting ready for fashion shows. It's also a place where I have a number of colleagues here from the bar. It was also a place where Helen Winslow and I found ourselves. Everybody remember Helen? Found ourselves downstairs in the Y's, really crappy at that time. a physical fitness area, but where we could talk to each other about what it was like to be women in the bar, where there just weren't that many women who were attorneys in the state of Delaware. So the Y is a wonderful place for networking, a wonderful place for providing shelter. It's been that for me in my life. But professionally, I've also been able to work with the Y when I was with Marianne Kimball Moore, who succeeded me there, doing amazing policy work, having fun policy work. And I worked with the Y. We did a match savings program for women who were living at the Y so they could use their money to buy whatever they wanted to. It was a different kind of match savings program. We were able to let one woman needed to get her teeth fixed so she could look for a job. Another woman had taken on the care of her siblings' children, and she needed more beds, and she wanted to be able to purchase that. It was a match savings program. I just keep saying this because I want people to continue this idea. A match savings program that let people save money for what they thought they needed to save money for. So my experiences with the Y have been wonderful. I have with me today members of my church, Cornerstone Fellowship Baptist Church, shout out. And they are specifically members of what we call the Hagar ministry. Hagar was a woman who was mentioned in the Bible. She is mentioned in the Torah. She is referred to in the Quran. She was a woman who was not being well treated by her community, not being well treated by her family. She had a lower social status in her community, and she left that community, and she left more than once, which is we find that victims of domestic violence and sexual assault leave more than once before they can finally leave. But she met an angel, and I think of the Y as that angel that took her in, got her to a community that was safe, and helped nurture her. So I just wanted to mention that. Now, what I finally want to do is thinking about Hagar, introduce to you someone who has been able to leave a community that was not nurturing to her, leave a family that was not nurturing, step out, find support at the Y, and move forward. Courageous, brave. I want to introduce you to Sam Hudran.
Good morning. As I was introduced, I'm Sam Hudran. I am the Counseling Services Manager at the YWCA Sexual Assault Response Center program. And I just want to thank you all for being willing to hear my story of survival and hope. When people hear the words human trafficking, what usually goes through their minds are strangers, abductions, violence. And that's not always the case. In my case, it was my mother, someone I trusted, someone that was supposed to love me and care for me. One of the earliest memories I have is standing in the doorway of the bathroom. I was about 3 years old, watching my father break my mother's nose. I remember seeing, blood everywhere. I apologize for you all eating breakfast. I won't go into any more detail than that. There was blood everywhere. And that was just the beginning of my story of violence. As my parents divorced after that, my mother took me and we moved to Florida. We finally found ourselves in a place called Liberty City. It's a housing projects in Miami, Florida. There was gun violence everywhere. There were drugs. There were gangs. That's where I grew up. When I was just 5 years old, my mom started selling me to our neighbors. She was an addict. She would sell me for drugs, or she would sell me for money to buy drugs. She did not care. She didn't care what happened to me after they bought me, as long as she was happy and got her fix. At the time, I had no idea what trafficking was. Honestly, I didn't put it all together until I was in grad school. I'm a little slow on the uptake, I think. Carrying drugs for gangs, being abused, that was my norm. The police never suspected me. I was the little white girl. I had 2
what I call angels in my community. I carried their drugs. They protected me and kept me safe and made sure I went to school every single day. They would walk me to the bus stop. They would pick me up from the bus stop and walk me home. One of those gentlemen was murdered due to gang violence, and the other one is in federal prison for drugs and murder himself. That was my life. I didn't know any different. My mother, finally, at the age of 12, moved us back to Ohio when she inherited a working farm from the family. But things didn't get any better. She had no one to sell me to, so the abuse turned physical and violent in my own home. I'll never forget the day I was coloring at the kitchen table, and my crayon went off the paper. Instead of just wiping the mark off the table, my mother picked the table up and broke it over my back. When it rained, the rain would leak through our roof because my mother would chase me around the home with a loaded gun and shoot it through the ceiling. That was my life. School became my safe place, and I was determined to do well because that was instilled in me by the, quote, gangbangers that raised me on the streets in Miami. I went to school every day, and my freshman English teacher saw my determination, and she helped me to apply to graduate from high school early, and she helped me apply to the Rotary as an exchange student. So I went to Spain for a year, and that was my salvation. I was 16 at that time, and for the first time in my life, I was free. I was safe. I saw a different way of life, and I knew that I could build a future for myself that was safe. That experience is why I'm so passionate about the work I do. I know what it feels like to be trapped in a world with no escape. And I know what it's like and how it feels when you finally get to break free. It just takes someone to believe in you. And with SARC, as the counseling manager, I believe in every person that comes through the door. I know they can have a better life. They just need to work and achieve it, and they need support to get there. I share my story today because I want you to understand that human trafficking isn't something that happens in other countries. It isn't something that happens on TV shows. It happens in families that are supposed to be loving and caring for one another. And I share my story in the hopes that it will allow survivors to know that their future can be better. It can be positive. It can be glorious, and you can live free. That's why work here at the YW is so important to me and so dear to my heart. When we walk along survivors, whether they're children, women, or men, we help them see a future that's bigger than their trauma, and we remind them that they are worthy of love, they are worthy of healing, and there is always hope. I'm living proof. Even after decades of pain, a new chapter is possible with the support, with courage, and with organizations like the YWCA. We can and we will fulfill futures full of hope and survival. Thank you.
Sam, thank you for the work that you do and the lives that you're impacting. Seeing you on this stage, it was empowering and inspiring, not just for the women that you serve, but I think for every person in this room to remember the work that they're doing and why we're all here today. Thank you. As we heard in Sam's story, life rarely goes as planned. And for mothers raising children with special needs, the challenges can feel, well, enormous. And I know this firsthand. As a mom of a son on the autism spectrum, his name is Lotus, I know the journey can be filled with both trials and moments of deep joy. And that's why it's my honor to introduce to you Jessica, a mother whose courage, resilience, shows us the power of hope and grace in action. If you guys would all join me in welcoming Jessica.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jessica, and this over here is my ball of energy, RJ. About 2 years ago, RJ was diagnosed with autism. And at the time, we were living in an emergency family shelter. So you can imagine already being with the burden of homelessness, and then to be in a homelessness place and your son is diagnosed with special needs. You can imagine that's a lot to take on and a lot to carry every day. The place we stayed in was not equipped to handle special needs children. So after going through, instead of being met with honesty, acceptance, a hug or two, we were met with judgment and shame and embarrassment. And it was at that time that I realized that I couldn't take it anymore. And my son didn't deserve that. So after leaving and after jumping from shelter to shelter, I would take my son to the park that's actually across the street from the Y, and it's the Helen Chambers Park. And he would play there, and after he got out of school, and I ended up meeting another resident there, and she broke down everything at the Y and said that I feel like this would be a great place for you, and this would be a great, thank you, this would be a great place for you, and this would be a place where you can begin to live again. When I first got the call that I got into the YWCA, it was as if a ton of bricks had come off my chest, and I was able to actually see a future and actually see something that I can build towards. When I first joined the Y, I was beyond exhausted. You can imagine, if you can imagine, carrying your belongings every single day, going from shelter to shelter. So when I got to the Y, I was tired and I just rested for a long time. It was my case manager, Miss Val, who saw that I was determined to not only get myself together, but to let everyone know and to let know the awareness of children on the spectrum. Not every child is the same. So it made me feel comfort, and not only with my case manager, Ms. Val, but there were other children that were just like RJ there. He was able to make friends. He was able to become more confident. He was able to talk more. So while I was there, and I was determined to make certain goals in my life, like I needed an ID. I needed an ID. I needed an ID. I needed to get something as simple as my birth certificate. And I was determined to do that while I was at the Y. In the emergency side, I spent most of my time there getting the documents that I needed, getting everything to just get my life back on track. Fast forward a few months later, after talking with multiple residents and everything like that, I actually heard about a place called Easter Seals. And I heard about this place for resources and just to help you and just to be just that helping hand that you need. Only God knew that I was going to walk away with a job. And it was there, thank you. It was there that I became my son's paid caregiver, And I became that advocate for him, because nobody's going to take care of him. Nobody's going to take care of him like I will. And even coming from Easter Seals now, after leaving the Y, we moved into our own place April of this year. Thank you. I was able to turn what I do at Easter Seals into a career, and now transition to another company where I'm my son's home health aide. And while he's at school, I can pick up other clients and help other children who are on the spectrum and have special needs. only God knew that I was going to walk away with this, but I now know, with the help of Miss Val, Miss Shay, Miss Lisa, and Miss Jackie at the YWCA, if it wasn't for you guys holding me accountable when I made my mistakes, extending grace when it said it was okay, and letting me know I'm not alone.
That is real work in action. Thank you so much, Jessica. If these speakers have impacted you as deeply as they have impacted me, then you will be excited to hear from Patricia Grant from YWCA Delaware's board as she shares how we can all make an impact.
Good morning, everyone. We are here to help people succeed in every part of life, mentally, physically, emotionally, and financially. We are here to care for our staff who carry the weight of indirect trauma every day. We are here to guide the next generation so they can lead with compassion and change the policies that shape a better world. But imagine for just a moment, what would Delaware look like without YWCA? Who would be there for the families in crisis? Who would fight for fairness and justice? This is the moment where hope becomes action. This year, we have felt the pressure more than ever, but we're not giving up. Let me tell you what your help can mean to real lives. For the women delivering pizza while living in their car, your gift allows our community housing to help find safe housing and rebuild their lives. For the wife caring for her husband with schizophrenia, your gift helps our community health workers connect with her with resources and get the support her family needs. For the senior citizen living in long-term care whose family discovered their grandparent had been assaulted in the facility they were living in, your support allow our SARC team to step in to guide the family, coordinate hospital care, and secure a safer living environment. For the family and the father who needed financial guidance to increase his credit score to get their mortgage, your support allowed our HUD certified financial counselor to guide him to success. And for the student who stood on the floor of Legislative Hall, your gift gave him and her the courage to stand tall and speak truth to power. We don't pick and choose who we help. Because of you, we are here to answer the call of all Delawareans. And today, we invite you to answer that call with us. We want to give you one more opportunity to hear how our work is making a difference. From one of our participants, Takira, with the support of Dr. Beverly Baxton.
As we close out our morning together, we're learning that the work of the YWCA Delaware is more important than ever. Government support has diminished for those facing hardship, and women's rights and opportunities continue to be challenged. We continue to face enormous challenges, but these challenges are not new. Our history shows how hard-fought progress has always been. American law in its beginnings, was based upon British common law, under which girls were the property of their fathers until they married, at which time they became the property of their husbands, signified by the surname. The surname showed who owned a woman, all property, and any children. It took until 1920 for women to get the right to vote, but many rights were still denied. For example, it took an act of Congress in 1974 for a woman to get a credit card in her own name. Until then, banks could deny single women outright and required a husband to co-sign for a married woman. I was among the first women in Delaware to get a credit card in my own name, though reclaiming my own name required persistence and legal advocacy. My case set the precedent in Delaware for a woman to take back her own name. And that was in 1974. It wasn't until 1993 that federally funded medical research was required to include women. And even today, research on women's health still lags far behind. And now, we have a growing chorus of voices who are calling for women to stay home and have babies and let men be in charge. Indeed, just last month in Washington, D.C., at a national conference, major U.S. figures called for an America where women can't vote. Husbands should be the representative for voting. In these challenging times, we need the YWCA even more as it works to support women who have been especially challenged, to empower women. I support the YWCA Delaware because it is making a difference at a time when it is needed even more. YWCA is helping women like Takira, who has faced loss and uncertainty, yet is rebuilding her life and her children's future with courage and determination. It is my honor to introduce her to you today. Please join me in welcoming Takira.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Takira, and I thought I knew what stability was until I realized I didn't. I thought I had a home, a life, a future for my children, but one day it was all gone. My name wasn't on the house I helped pay for. My financial contribution didn't give me ownership. Suddenly, I had nowhere to go. I learned the hard way that paperwork, legal rights, and advocating for yourself are not formalities, they are survival. I got into the wrong relationship. We moved in together too soon. My son was conceived and born in the same year. When I filed for divorce, I had to protect my children and myself. I stayed with friends. I even stayed in a hotel and 2 shelters just to make sure my daughter could graduate high school, and she did. She graduated. She graduated in 2024 from Brandywine High School, and she's now attending Mercer County Community College on her 2nd year, and she'll be graduating next year with her associate's degree. My son, who has Tourette's syndrome, needed stability too. Each time I had to pack up and move, it broke me a little more. I kept asking myself, how could all the years I worked, paid bills, raised my kids count for nothing? When I came to the YWCA Delaware Home Life Management Center, Ms. Shea told me, "You're not going to be homeless or on the streets. We're going to help you." And they are. My son, who had been so nervous and quiet, began running through the halls with a smile.
My son doesn't call the YWCA Delaware a shelter anymore. He says, Mommy, let's go home. And that's how I know we are safe. Being here, I've learned that independence is about standing up for yourself and using every tool available to better yourself. I started volunteering at the YWCA Delaware and help wherever I can, because I'm not waiting for life to happen. And I signed up for every one of YWCA Delaware's available programs, all free, including financial counseling, continuing education, CPR, and financial aid classes. I also received my Safe Serve certification. Because I want to make sure I never feel powerless again. I've been a teacher for 17 years in early child care, and now I'm going back to school to grow even more. YWCA Delaware has given me the tools to focus on what matters most and build a stable life for me and my children. I finally understand what advocacy and preparation can do for a woman who wants to protect herself and her family. I'm grateful to be with YWCA Delaware, a place that feels like community, and I'm grateful for all of you who understand how YWCA empowers people to reclaim their independence, protect their rights, and create a beautiful future for their families. Thank you.